So your life is not meaningless. You might just be pretty bored and overstimulated, which is a very nasty cocktail. If those two words resonate with you, if that feels consistent with your experience, I'd ask you to stick with me for a little bit here, because you're not alone. A lot of people are grappling with this. It's something I've dealt with many, many times, is this feeling like you have no direction in life. What am I doing with my precious conscious experience? I'm here for a limited amount of time. I'm going to die one day, and I feel like at whatever age I'm at, I just haven't done enough. And I'm certainly not doing enough now. I'm filling my time with meaningless distraction, cheap entertainment, pleasure seeking, whatever it might be. You're surrounded by these sources of distraction and cheap entertainment. So I don't blame you. The unfortunate truth is that a meaningful purpose will not knock on your door. You do not live in the Shire. Gandalf is not coming for you. You're going to have to create it for yourself, which takes some work, and it takes a little bit of self-knowledge. What I would say is that if you're willing to try, it's not nearly as hard as you think. It is not. In fact, if you're open to it, I have a 3-step plan that you can implement right away. 3 steps over the course of 3 days. And if you do this, you might find that at the end of the 3 days, you feel like your life is a lot more meaningful, or you're at least closer to finding a purpose. I will say that I'm not going to be able to give you like your life's mission. And at the end of the 3 days, you know exactly what you're going to do for the rest of your life. If that happens, please come back and let me know, because that would be pretty cool. It's not what this is. You don't need a life's mission. You don't need a ring to take to Mordor. Not in the beginning, at least. You just need a meaningful game to play. You need something that you can give your time and attention to that's going to reward you, something that challenges you, forces you to build new skills, ideally connects you with other people, makes you a more well-rounded human being in an age of unprecedented distraction, cheap entertainment, and the general downgrading of humanity. All right, so we're going to start by finding a meaningful game. Now, if this is already starting to feel like it might not be for you, like maybe you should like click away, or I don't know, come back to this later, save it to your watch later, and like, on Thursday I'll come and get my life together. It's like, I think day 1 will speak to you. Day 1 is very easy. Step 1 is very easy, and it's really to just de-stimulate yourself. Like we established, right now you're probably really overwhelmed. You're probably hit with more information, media, content, ideas than you're prepared to handle. And it can make you feel not only really behind in life, but like it actually prevents you from thinking at all, because you're just so distracted. Your mind becomes this rushing river of noise, and there's no control to it. So we have to destimulate you. Consider that your boredom and your directionlessness might be a product of overstimulation. And then if you just remove that chronic stimulation from your psyche, you'll be motivated to try something out purely from curiosity. That would be a really great place to start. You just identify the things that make your dopamine levels go sky high and then immediately plummet you into a kind of chemical depression, and you just don't do those things. You replace them with something else. What I would recommend you do is that at whatever time you're watching this, take an easy rest of the day, get some sleep, and when you wake up in the morning, spend the first hour of your day away from screens. And you've heard this advice before, but then you're like, what do I actually do? When people tell you to not do something and don't give you any alternative, it's impossible to stick to the plan, because there is no plan, because you don't know how to operate in that state of absence. So you fall back on what you've always done, which in your case might be going on your phone, might be going watching TV somewhere, might be engaging in some other type of practice that doesn't make you feel good in the long run and sets you up for kind of an overstimulated, sad day. You're going to avoid those things. When you wake up in the morning, set your alarm for a manageable time, not 4 a.m. This is not turning you into David Goggins. That's not what we're doing. We're not turning you into David Goggins. We're not turning you into a discipline machine. We can get to that later. And maybe that's worthwhile for you. But in the beginning, just set a manageable alarm for yourself that you will be able to get up with. When you hear the alarm, let the sound ring out and then end it. And then get up. Sit up slowly. Take a deep breath. Put your feet on the floor. Stand up. Make your bed. Put on clothes that are comfortable and that you feel good in. Go drink a glass of water. Go stand outside. Feel sun on your face. If it's raining, no worries. Try to get some sunlight in your eyes. Feel the rain on your skin. No one else could do it for you. Okay. Go back inside, sit down, and feel your thoughts start to bubble up. Probably you will have a stream of consciousness that you don't feel like you're in control of. Or I don't know, maybe that doesn't happen to you. It happens to me quite frequently. All you're going to do is you're going to sit with it for 5 minutes, or 2 minutes, or 1 minute, or 30 seconds. Truly, the interval of time isn't that important. As long as you can give yourself the patience to sit with it and to not necessarily engage with it. You don't need to start ruminating about work or your creative endeavors or your relationships or the things you wish you did differently years ago or the meal you're going to cook for your parents or whatever. You're not going to think about that stuff. Or, it'll pop up, but then you're going to let it just kind of pass. What I'm describing is meditation, and it does not need to be any fancier or any more glamorous than that. It's just sitting with your thoughts for a second and getting comfortable doing that. In the beginning, it will be uncomfortable, but instead of distracting that flow with more information, you're just going to practice sitting with it. If you can do this for just 30 seconds or 10 seconds, you'll find that it'll be easier to do it throughout the day. You might do it 3 times throughout the day. Anytime you feel a burst of overwhelm or anxiety or doubt or possibilities spewing from your deep brain and you're unsure of what to do with it, you're just going to sit with it and you're going to watch the flow pass by. This is inherently destimulating, and it's really helpful. Over time, what you want to do is reconnect to the feeling of boredom. Boredom is a really useful tool. Boredom is a hack to curiosity, because when you get bored enough, a natural childlike curiosity will present itself to you. And that's really great, because in that moment, you'll know what you want to do next. Your only goal for day one is to connect back to a feeling of curiosity. So when you're destimulating yourself, consider going for a walk without music, without more information. Consider sitting in silence for longer stretches of time. Consider subjecting yourself to boredom. Consider when you're sitting in traffic on your way home from work, accepting the baked-in boredom of that experience, and realize that it's a really helpful tool for what you need right now, which is reconnecting to curiosity, reconnecting to excitement for something new. It's only when you're bored that you'll be able to find that again. Because if you're constantly overstimulated by cheap dopamine, you won't naturally be curious to do anything else. You'll be bored and overstimulated and in a vicious cycle of those two states. You know this, you feel it. So that's day one, is just get bored again. It might take you 10 minutes. It might take you the whole day. But your only goal is to remove distractions and just sit with your thoughts. Do that as an active practice until you know what you want to do next. Now, when you know what you want to do next, it'll present itself very gently to you. It's not going to be this rush of excitement like, oh, wow, I'm going to become a prodigy painter or a pianist. That will not happen. What might occur for you is that you'll remember when you were a kid that you were a little bit, at one point in time, interested in rocks. There was something about the different textures of rocks that excited you. You liked to collect them. You like to gather them around from the backyard and make these little collections for yourself. And in your state of boredom, this sensory memory will present itself to you. And that's something. You're not about to go out and become a world-renowned geologist, but you just might want to lean into that a little bit and try to find that feeling again of what it was like to be compelled by rocks. Maybe you want to go check out a rock and mineral museum in your local town if you have something like that. Or maybe you just want to go outside. Go to a place where you can be around rocks and other natural phenomena. This brings us to day 2, is you are going to pursue the curiosity that you found in day 1. Another way to say this is you're going to start playing a meaningful game. It's going to give you something to do. Curiosity will lead you to a game that you can play. A game is pretty simple. A game is something that has a clear goal embedded in the activity, some type of obstacle or challenge for you in the way, clear constraints or rules that you can follow, and then through a combination of your own skill, luck, and intuition, you progress towards that goal until you achieve it. You want there to be challenges and obstacles. You want it to be not effortless, because otherwise it doesn't really engage you. You are a living creature that thrives on challenge, that wants it, and will not be satisfied unless you have a healthy dose of it. So your goal on day 2 is to start playing that game. Let's say you wanted to go out and explore rocks again. Your game is going to be, okay, let's go out and see if I can identify 3 different types of rocks. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. You go out and you try to do that. It might be a little bit challenging. You will first have to get to a place where you would find rocks, and then you're going to start looking. You're going to direct your attention towards this game. You're going to try to observe different rocks. Maybe you take a notebook with you and take little notes. Suddenly you're feeling a similar sensation as what you had when you were 4 years old gathering rocks in the backyard of your family home. Perhaps you don't achieve the goal of the game on your first attempt. That's okay. Maybe you only find one type of rock. Maybe you need to bring in Google to help you. There you go. Now you're building the skill for next time. Right? Next time you will be more prepared. You will have more skill to apply to the game. You can make this work for any single thing that you have some semblance of curiosity for. Anything. You can turn it into a game. You turn it into a game by making it a challenge with a goal built into it, something that is difficult to a certain extent, something that requires you to be fully engaged, and something that would genuinely incentivize you or excite you if you were to win. Maybe it's actually playing a game. Maybe it's like an adult rec league for sports, if that's what you're into. Maybe you want to write a personal essay or a short story or a poem. This thing will present itself to you if you get bored enough. Then on day 2, you expose yourself to the game. What I need you to recognize is that this is going to suck in the beginning because you're probably not going to be good at it. There's going to be resistance when you go to play the game. There will be real resistance. Your brain or there's a voice within you that will say, oh, you're no good at this. You shouldn't do this. This isn't worth your time. You'll never benefit from this. What's the point of this? You should stop. That will likely happen. You should expect this. That's very normal. You're going to, I don't know about push through that voice, but you're going to meet the voice where it's at with that sense of curiosity. Curiosity will beat fear every time, and that resistance is fear, by the way. You can beat fear with curiosity. Fear says, don't change, stay in your comfort zone, this isn't worth it, the risk outweighs the reward. Curiosity says, yeah, but what if? Like, what if I were to try it? Like, maybe it's worth, it's not this passionate warrior rage or excitement to achieve something. Not in the beginning. It will become that as you fall in love with the practice over time. But in the beginning, it's just well, maybe what if I could probably, maybe it's worth it. And that is worth it. Lean into that voice. It will overpower fear with enough practice. So day 2 is overcome the fear, overcome the resistance through curiosity, play a meaningful game, accept that you might suck at it in the beginning, and that will create more feelings of resistance. It's okay. You're going to suck. Your goal is to not be good at the game. Your goal is to play the game. If you're playing the game, you're winning the game. That's it. That's day 2. Does that make sense? Perfect example of this is Brilliant.org. This video is sponsored by Brilliant. It is a great way to become smarter. I'd like to tell you about it because if you have no idea where to start with this, you need a clear structure, and Brilliant gives you that. Brilliant is like if you turned learning into a little mobile video game that you have on your phone. It is the best way, in my opinion, to learn foundational skills like math, science, data analysis, coding, really relevant skills. It allows you to start playing this game and start applying yourself to very basic math lessons or coding lessons or data science lessons. And you can kind of pick up the foundations quickly. And then you're rewarded for it, which gives you a little spurt of dopamine. It incentivizes you to keep going. There's a wide range of topics that you can learn from, whether that's math, whether that's data science, whether that is coding, programming, all practical skills that you can bring into your professional and creative life, but more importantly, training your brain to solve problems. This is a really great way to gamify the learning process and build that habit at the same time. To try everything Brilliant has, completely for free for 30 days, just go to brilliant.org/JoshChuba, or you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off your annual subscription. Finally, we arrive at day 3. So we have reconnected to our curiosity by finding our boredom again. We have started to play a meaningful game, something that challenges us, something that requires us to apply our curiosity to something. On day 3, we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're just going to step it up one notch. We are going to iterate on that game. We're going to make it either more intense, or we're going to do it for slightly longer, or we're going to add an additional element to the game. So with the rock example, let's say you went out and you tried to identify 3 rocks and you wrote them down in your little journal. You didn't get all 3. On day 3, where you go out to try this again, you're going to try to get 3 rocks. You're going to stay out until you get there. Or you're just going to give yourself a timeline, like an hour or 2 to play the game. And you just increase the intensity or the demands placed upon you just a little bit, just still a manageable amount. And you're going to train the skill set of progressive overload, making the task incrementally harder in the very beginning so that you grow as a result. This is a process that you can repeat far beyond the initial 3 days. But if you can do this in 3 days, you'll have the formula for finding purpose. But not just finding purpose, creating it for yourself. Because remember, this isn't just going to happen to you. You have to take this upon yourself to initiate. You have to re-expose yourself to boredom. Get so bored that curiosity can't help but bubble up to the surface of your awareness. From there, pay attention to it, listen to it, honor it. When you have that little nudge that says, yeah, maybe you should try paint by numbers, you listen to it and you indulge it. And you go and play a meaningful game where you get paint by numbers and then you paint. And then on day 3, just doing it for a little bit longer. Doing a second paint by numbers activity after the first one. Progressive overload iteration. If you repeat this process over and over again, you will play a meaningful game. You'll discover a lot about yourself. You'll be back in touch with your curiosity, and your day-to-day life won't feel meaningless. I'm not training you to save the world with this video. This won't work for that. But what it will do is it will give you something to do. And that's a start. Because if you have something to do, you have something to improve upon. And if you have something to improve upon, you can build the skill set of improving. You can apply that to anything you do. That's it. That's all. That's literally it. Not super complicated. You can do this right now. You can start this right now. Remember, step 1 is to destimulate. You don't have to do anything. It's a really great place to start if you feel like you have no direction. Lean into it for a second. Destimulate. Find the curiosity. Listen to the curiosity. Play a meaningful game. Repeat the process. That's all you need. Hope this is helpful. Goodbye.